So this is the kind of play that I think is driving Ohio State fans crazy at the moment. It's a little predictable. The ball is on the right hash. Ohio State is under center. If you've watched the Buckeyes play enough this year, you can reasonably assume that they're going to run some version of a stretch play into the boundary. In this case, being under center is probably just going to be, a straight kind of wide zone run to the right. Kate Stover, the tight end, is aligned to the right side. He and the entire offensive line are going to block down with zone steps into the short side of the field. And Penn State looks like it's ready for that. They do their scout work too. So there's 7 guys in the box here, 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers at the second level. Ohio State has 6 blockers. So there's a little bit of a numbers issue here, but I don't think that automatically means you shouldn't run the ball here. And again, not to kind of deflect, but I do think this is a matter of execution more than anything else, because I think the blocking here is pretty good. Ohio State has shown enough play action out of this look. They haven't done it. They did not do it in this game, which I think is maybe the biggest point of contention, is that they were in shock or pistol 4 times and under center 8 times and ran every single time without a play action. But they've done it enough. This is early in the game where you have to respect the boot of C.J. Stroud. He can pull this ball away from Trevion Henderson, boot out, and then throw a pass. And you kind of see here the defensive end crashing down, number 20. He's held up by that. He's not immediately triggering downhill on Trevion Henderson. So I know people talk a lot about C.J. Stroud's ability to run the ball and how that would help things. Well, this is a similar idea. You're stealing back numbers here by doing this. So there's 7 in the box, but then when number 20 hesitates here because he's worried about the boot action, you're back to having 6 in the box. So it's 6 defenders, it's 6 blockers, and that's what you want if you're Ohio State. And I think otherwise the blocking here is good enough. Sometimes it's not perfect. Maybe you don't want to see the right tackle, DeJuan Jones, get shoved into the backfield quite to the extent that he does, and Trevion does a nice job of navigating around that. But I think maybe my biggest issue with a play like this, and something Ryan Day has talked about, is in the games where Ohio State's run the ball really well, it's been well targeted, and I think that can mean a couple things. That can mean the offensive line identifying the right people and getting to the right blocks to help spring a run, but I also think it can mean the running back and where his aiming point is initially. And this maybe feels perhaps a hair too wide to me. Trevion Henderson really presses this wide, so then he has to navigate around the right tackle. But even when he does, like right here, he is around that block, and there is a seam. You can see it behind the blocks of Luke Whippler and Cade Stover there, the tight end. You see Parrish Johnson, the left tackle, kind of coming into the frame, ready to lead the way down that seam there. Like there's a window there, and it's hard to tell maybe from the TV copy here. If you were able to get a look at the All-22 film from the back view, it's even more dramatic, this seam. It's there for Trevion Henderson to hit, but when he goes to plant and hit that seam, he slips and he falls. There was no trip here. His feet just kind of gave out from underneath him. So I suppose you chalked it up to a lack of execution. The guy just kind of fell down, which is unfortunate. But this is a play where it's the kind of play where you feel like Ohio State's tipping its hand, and I think you can reasonably levy that criticism. But they are accounting for the extra guy in the box with the threat of a play action boot. They do gain the numbers back. It's 6-on-6. It's blocked well enough, and there's a seam there, and Trevion Henderson slips and falls. And that's not to put the blame on Trevion. I think it's just bad luck more than anything else. But I think sometimes we just look at the result of the play and see that this play was a stretch play into the boundary like they always run, and it went for 0 yards, and we think to ourselves, well, no duh, because everyone knew that play was coming. Even though Penn State probably did reasonably suspect that this play was coming, they still didn't defend it all that well. I think Ohio State executes much better than Penn State here up until the point where Trevion Henderson falls, but the problem is that he fell. So a run that honestly could have probably been a touchdown if he can get up that seam, instead goes for no yards because a guy slipped and fell on the turf.